Why should I pray? Number one is the presence. It's a position in the presence of the Father, because prayer means to communicate. That Hebrew word palah. And you got two lameds there side by side. And anytime you have two Hebrew letter words together, of course, we know that intensify the meaning. And lamed has to do with authority to govern. It also means to teach, to have access, spiritual authority. It's a powerful letter word, but that Hebrew word palah starts off with the Hebrew letter word pay. And that means to speak the word of the Father. I can say the power is word of his, but his word has power. That's automatic. His word is strong. That's automatic. So his word carry power. Ephraim, called Hebrew says he uphold all things by the word of his power, not the power of his word, which means that all of his power is in his word. So pay means to speak the Father's word. When the entire word, we're in class, this is prayer school. When you spell that entire word out, is for pay, it's actually pay high. And another spelling is pay aleph, all right, for the word pay. I mean, that's the letter word pay. So when we are speaking the Father's word relative to what has been revealed. So when we are praying, we are communicating with him. We are communicating with him in his presence. That's the number one principle that we definitely need to get in our belief system, that prayer is not only asking for things. It's not even only just petitioning for what has already been done for us, but all this is done through the avenue of communication with the Father. So that's why we should pray. Let's get our note back up. That's because of the fellowship in his presence. Fellowship in his presence. Now watch this right here. See, I can spend a whole lot of time there, but I'm just going to give you some hors d'oeuvres. A little snack off of each point. Let me do it like that. Just a little snack off of each point, because each point is very powerful. Now, in Bereshit 1:26, notice that Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, in our image, character, the mold that he used to make us, he used himself as a pattern. And then he said likeness relative to spirit, soul, and body, a spiritual being with a mind, will, of emotion, living in a body with a sovereign will, just like the Father. Unlike the angels, the Malachim called angels, they have a will, but they really don't have a right to exercise it without eternal punishment. Now, a human will, we can choose, but there is no eternal punishment that cannot be remedied. Okay, just like when Adam and Mount Neged declared declaration of independence from the government of the kingdom, they put themselves in a state of separation through the rebellious acts they committed. But the Father himself released himself in his Son to fix that, you see. Now, Malachim's called angels, there's no fixing for them, because they know or knew their punishment was eternal when they did it. The Father told man, Adam and Mount Neged, what their punishment was also, but it wasn't an eternal punishment that could not be remedied. Let me put that like that. So we want to be in his presence. That's the number one reason why you should be praying. Fellowshipping in the presence of the Father. We've been creating his likeness and in his image. Now let's go to this next verse. I want to look at it back in to our notes in Bereshit. Bereshit, what is it, 3 and 8? Yeah. And they heard the voice of Yahweh, Yud-Heh-Vav, some say Yud, of Yahweh Elohim, walking about in the garden. That's that place that was designed for them to grow in and reproduce seed, children in the image and likeness of the Father. That was that place where they had access, the place where they had access. But remember, they declared the declaration of independence from the government of the kingdom. whereby they had access. All right. Now watch this. About in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife, or Isha, hid themselves from the presence. You see, that's an indicator that the presence was still there. Access to the government of the kingdom of heaven was still there, but they hid themselves because they knew that they had declared a declaration of independence, and they could no longer, watch this, no longer receive. They were exposed. The presence of the Father exposes everything. How can you hide? Well, he tried it and it didn't work. All right. Now, let's look at another point. That's the observe. We're not going to get into it anymore. That's the number one reason to be in the presence of the Father. And let's look at this word right quick. Presence. Presence. How you pronounce that? Panit. That's it. Panit. Panit. All right. And this is the lexicon meaning means front, head, or face. The front, facing, presence, not behind him, not on the side, not at his feet, but right in his face. That's what they had initially. Now, we're going to look at the Hebrew letter word meaning for this word, for presence, panate. Pay, noon, high. In the Hebrew, it reads from right to left. So you see those Hebrew letter word right there. Pay, noon, high. That's the modern Hebrew. That's not the ancient African Hebrew form, but we'll go with it. Now, the Hebrew letter word meaning for this word is the revelation of our inheritance in the authority of the Father's word. All right. That high means a revelation on earth of what's in heaven. Okay. High. Now, when the high is on the end of the spelling of a Hebrew word, it's in the feminine gender, denoting what comes from. All right. This is a revelation that came from something. What was that something? All right. You look, there's the noon. In the ancient African Hebrew Madu Nida, the noon in the pictograph language, Madu Nida is pictograph. Hieroglyphics come from a Greek word. So we kick all that stuff out. We go back to the original, which is Madu Nida. Now, it's a picture of a seed. The modern is a fish, but the ancient is a seed. A seed denotes inheritance and sonship. You understand? And then you have that pay, which is the first letter spelling the word. And that here you have the power or the authority of the word of the Father. So the authority of the word of the Father that is designated or sown or planted in his sons, you see, by being in his presence, we get a revelation of our inheritance through him revealing his word to us and his authority. That's why we should pray. Now, I like the Hebrew letter word meaning because they give the process and the whys and the purpose and go deep into it. And not only just in his face, but what happens while we are in his face, in his presence. Don't you want to just stop and go pray now? I don't know about you, but I do.